Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I have an amazing guest today. Lisa has an amazing manifestation story that she's going to share with us today and inspire us. So, welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
So, let us know a little bit about yourself and what is your manifestation story.
Okay. I think my whole life has been a manifestation story, so
I love
I'll
that.
just pick out a little pieces for you.
We're
um,
always manifesting, right?
yeah, well, yeah, and I didn't know that at first either, of course. I think my story kind of starts. I quit high school and got married because evidently I'm an idiot, and I mean that in a loving way. And my sailor husband moved to Guam. So I was over there at 18 and didn't know what I was doing. I'd always worked little side hustle jobs and stuff, but I joined a direct sales company when I got over there because I saw a bunch of the other wives doing direct sales. So I joined, I wrote to the company, I wrote to Avon and joined them because I remember the lady coming to my house and stuff. And I think it was then that I realized that if I decided what I wanted to do, that I could make it happen myself. But when you do that, I think you have to dream about what it is and work your way towards it because you just because you want it doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately. So you have to keep holding that dream or that vision and work your way towards it. And working for myself and not for someone else has been something that, well, kind of a necessity because I'm I'm not a good employee. Oh, yeah, I don't like being told what to do, it's just not good.
Same,
Right.
same here.
Right. So, but it was back then that I realized if enough people knew what I did, that I could be successful at anything. So I immediately was starting to try to get as many people as I could to know that I sold Avon, and sure enough, I got a lot of people to know and did kind of well with it. And then when I moved back to the United States, I continued selling it and things like that. I know I told you before we started, a big part of what has worked out for me in direct sales is that early on somebody gave me one of those actually it was cassette tape sets. Was called Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. And I always knew I wanted to be rich. I guess that's the size of it. I wasn't rich growing up. We were middle class at best. When I was on my own, uh, I think the best case scenario, I was in a single wide trailer in a trailer park for about 15 years. My worst years, I didn't have money for electric. I was single and I worked at a convenience store, third shift in Charleston, South Carolina for a year and something. But I mean, those were all struggle years. But I knew, to me, I convinced myself somehow that that wasn't where I was supposed to be, that I was meant for bigger, better things. It was just a matter of getting from where I was now to that bigger, better dream. So, in particular, when I saw that you were talking about manifestation, I was remembering all those years literally, that I used to soak in the bathtub in my trailer, in the trailer park, and envisioned the big giant bathtub that I actually now have up in my bathroom. When I had this house built for me, I told them I wanted a bathroom that I could fit my car in, and sure enough, I got and that's what I've got. And I've got a big giant bathtub. But you know what? I knew what that bathtub was gonna feel like all
Mm,
those years ago in the trailer park because I used to close my eyes and pretend I wasn't down in the trailer park. Down there, whenever I wanted to fill the bathtub, and it was winter, and up here, I live in New Hampshire, winter consists of like September through June, really. The trailer wasn't a nice one. It was a single wide old one. It was a 1972. It wasn't insulated good and it had problems. So to fill the bathtub up or take a shower, you had to take the hair dryer and unthaw the pipe behind the toilet, fill up the tub, and I would lay in there and I'd put a mud mask on and have all this stuff because I was
mm.
trying to have the experience that I can now have in my bathroom up here, back there in my mind, because that's what kept me going. Being able to visualize what it was going to be like is what kept me going towards it. And it was a long build. It was not a short thing because especially when you first start a business any kind, not just direct sales, but you have to reinvest so much back in of your time, of your money, of everything, getting the education, getting the experience. So, I mean, it was years before I was able to have the house that I'm living in now, but it was so worth it.
Like when you were in a bathtub and you were feeling and imagining, closing your eyes, visualizing what we teach. How did you learn those things? Was it intuitive or you learned it from Lead the Field? You learned it from
I'm
any?
not totally sure I can put my finger on it. I
Mm,
just somehow had convinced myself that there was some cosmic mistake that I was there to start with, that I really was meant to be here where I'm living right now, and that what my real job in this whole thing was is to get from there to here because
mm.
this is where it's my destiny to be here. It just was. And I'm not sure what made me feel that way, but I felt that way as long as I can remember. I don't know what started that.
I love that you used the word I convinced myself. So you literally like changed your perception about you and you changed your beliefs. And one of the other things that Bob Proctor, my mentor, teaches is the self image. So you had a different self image inside of you that was not reflecting at that time in your life, but you knew that's not you. You knew that there's something bigger and better is waiting
Well,
for you.
and it was hard to be surrounded by people who didn't have that belief in themselves or that belief in me, frankly,
Mm-hmm.
because they would say stuff to me making fun of what I'm doing as well as not having any dreams theirself. And matter of fact, one of the things that I had to do was change who I hung around with. There was a while there I caught myself. I hung around with one lady that lived across the street from me in the trailer park. Every day we'd go up to the Cumberland Farms and get coffee together and waste an hour and something of our time. And she smoked, I didn't. We sit in the car and smoke and drink coffee. And it dawned on me when I listened to a tape set that you're going to be the product of the five people that hang around with you. And I'm thinking to
Mm-hmm.
myself, in 5 years, do I really wanna be coming up here to Cumberland's every morning, drinking coffee and taking in secondhand
Maybe
smoke?
smoke. Yeah.
Is that really what I wanna be doing in 5 years? And I thought, "This is gonna be painful because she's about the only friend I've got, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to get new friends, and I'm gonna have to get friends that are doing what I wanna be doing. So I'm gonna have to get friends smarter than me. I'm gonna have to get friends doing better than me, and I'm gonna have to find a way to be around people who have what I wanna have and who are what I wanna be." So, that's happened a few times where I've caught myself hanging around people that weren't going where I wanted to go, and I needed
Mm-hmm.
to find new people to hang around with. I think that's hard to do too, and the
Mm-hmm.
people don't necessarily understand why you wanna do that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And matter of fact, down in the trailer park, they'd always say to me, "I don't know why you're working so hard all the time. You know, what do you think's gonna happen here? You know, you think you're gonna get a house there?" And you know what? Even now,
Yeah,
all
that's what I think.
later right, 20 years later, I would say 85% of the people that used to be neighbors with me down there are still there.
Mm-hmm.
85% are still
Yeah,
there,
no
and
wonder.
I'm up here at the house, and it's because
Wow.
I said, "You know what? I It's okay if you don't understand where I'm going. That's okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
wish you the best of luck, but I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do
Yes.
because I'm gonna be what I'm gonna be."
So many times I feel like I want to try to teach because I love to teach this material and manifestation and convince people, but not everyone is ready. So the best thing to do is exactly as you did. Like, I wish you
Well,
the
and
best.
I
And
found out that the only way that's ever worked for me is by example.
mhm,
So, some people
always.
have, I think, made adjustments in their life, hopefully, and said, "If she can do it, I can do it too." But it's never been from me telling them.
Yes,
It's
I
usually
love
just
that.
them watching me. So now I just try to be more mindful and realize that whether
Mhm.
I like it or not, or whether I'm trying to do that or not, people do watch what I do. So I want to live the
Mhm.
best life that and I truthfully want a big, giant, juicy life. That's just what I want. And I don't see there's any reason because I have the ability, and the longer I live, I have more skills to be able to do that. So there's
Mhm.
absolutely no excuse why I shouldn't have a big, giant, juicy life.
I love
So
that. Big, giant, juicy life. We all
giant,
are deserving to have a big, juicy life. I
yes.
love that so much. So, Lisa, you mentioned something that you were feeling you were meant for bigger and better things in life. I wonder how many people think deep inside that they are meant for something bigger and better, and still they play small. And that's such a shame because we have all the ability inside of us.
Well, you know what's funny, and you're going to have to anybody that tries to improve their situation in life, especially like where I was in a single wide trailer in the trailer park eating macaroni driving a Yugo. There's going to be a whole bunch of transition. You're not just going to go from that to what you wanted. It's going to be a whole big giant thing. So there was years and years and years where I felt like I'm living a double life. So one
Hmm.
trip I can remember in particular, it was in the winter, and the Yugo, we had earned this big trip. This was with my second husband. Don't judge. Uh, I
No
had earned this
judgment.
big trip and brought him as a guest, and we parked the Yugo and got to go to this fancy hotel in New York where we had two bathrooms in the hotel. I mean, it was fancy. I think it was the Waldorf Astoria actually. And so I'm living this big giant life there. We ate at a restaurant where the steak was like $50, and we were just like, "Oh, we didn't even know that stuff existed." This was just outrageous compared to our life. And then we come home and the Yugo wouldn't start, and the security guard helped us push start it at the airport. So I mean, for a long time we were living double life. You're
Hmm.
living this big fancy thing that you're getting a taste of, but you still have
Hmm.
to go home and grind it out. And
Hmm.
now I'm kind of glad that happened that way because I needed the time, kind of like a fine wine. I needed the time to mature into it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because I even still I get you get opportunities and situations that I have to go into that I was unprepared for back then. So
Hmm.
I had to mature and be around other people and see other situations and be at other fancy hotels to know how to act and what to be. But I
Hmm.
mean, in reality, even still, when I go to the Waldorf or something, I'm like, look, there's a fountain in the lobby. You know what I mean? Even still, I'm very impressed everywhere I go.
Hmm.
But I think it's people are need to realize that you're going to have a lot of transition time. It's going to
Hmm.
be because it's outside of your experience. So you have to just take it in and realize that it doesn't matter if you look foolish. It doesn't matter because you're building on your own character with every single experience that you have. So you just have to go with it and learn as you grow, to go from where you are to where you want to be is going to be a lot of transitions. And I think it's hard not to take on board what other people's opinion of you is or are. You have to go la 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 because
Hmm.
I mean, so many times I could have let that sink me. I mean, I can think of one story example for I earned a trip from Avon. It was one of my first ones. They seat you at their big events based on how good you did. So of course I'm sitting way in the back because I was new. You know what I mean? And I hadn't done that much. I got just enough to get on the trip. So I'm way, way, way in the back, and the people are this big. I turned to the lady next to me because I'm feeling all kind of bravado, and they were talking about introducing the people on stage. I turned to the lady next to me and I said, remember my name because I'm going up on that stage. She says to me, honey, you ain't ever going on stage. I've never been on stage. She's never been on stage. She's never been on stage, and you ain't going on stage either. And I actually ran to the ladies' room and cried.
Oh.
And then I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, who is she to tell me? Who is she to tell me whether I'm gonna get on stage or not. And it wasn't
Mhm.
2 years later I was on stage. I don't even think it was 2
Mhm.
years. And I wish I'd actually remembered her name because I'd have yelled,
Mm. That's such an
But
important point, such an
it was so
important
hard.
point.
Yeah, that was so hard not to
Get
let her
affected.
infect
Mhm.
me. Yeah.
Mhm. And
So
I believe that I heard this from somewhere that they say, "Don't tell people, show them." And I wholeheartedly believe in that because people project their own ideas, their past experiences, and if something didn't work for someone at some point, doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. We are all on different journeys. We're all different people. The best thing is just to keep your dreams and goals for yourself, just share
and
it with
show
your
them.
maybe
Yeah.
one best friend and your mentor, and show them by example so that they can, then they will follow
I
you
wish
and
I
they
had
want to
known
learn.
that sooner. But you know what? I'm kinda glad that happened because I think that gave me even more fuel to
Hmm.
say, "You know what? She doesn't have any idea what I'm
Yeah.
capable of doing," and I wanted to show her. So
Yes,
I
that's
thought,
that's
"You know what?
it.
I'm getting
Yeah.
on stage. She's not gonna tell me that I can't get on
Yeah.
stage." And that's happened a few times in my life is that some people would say mean stuff, and now I know it wasn't really about me they were saying it. They were really saying it about themselves, some kind of insecurity they had. It really had nothing to do with me. But at the time, of course, it shook me up, but it kinda
Absolutely.
shook me
Yeah.
up in a good way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I always wanted to prove that they were wrong.
Think it's Jim Rohn. He says that the revenge can be a really big motivation. Just
Right.
just show people, not
Outrageous
revenge in a
success.
mean way,
Right.
revenge in a way that you become successful and you show them that they were wrong.
Right. And you know what's funny about that? Years later, I was in Avon's magazine called Avon Dreams, and, what I did this was like therapy at $1.75 per shot, is I bought a whole bunch of extra of the magazines and sent it to people who'd said mean stuff to me.
I love
And
that.
I wrote a note on it, and I wasn't catty or anything, I actually wrote, "Just thought you might get a kick out of this," is all I put. And I sent out probably 100 something of them. And you know what's funny is nobody remembered that they said mean stuff to me. They
Mm.
would write back and say stuff like, "I always knew you would make it," and stuff like that. So when
Yeah,
they said something, they didn't even remember it that they
yeah.
said something. I was the only one that carried that around for so long,
Mhm,
and now that I know that, I don't even whatever anybody thinks
mhm.
about me is none of my business.
I really
I
appreciate you sharing that because that's so important in people's lives because there's always noise out there, people doubting us. And you're right, it's their own insecurities and their own projections, but it affects us if we are not aware of that. But this, if people watching this or stories like this, it's so helpful so they can learn how to not let the noise affect them and just believe in themselves and go for it. I love that story. I mean, it's an amazing story from a trailer, single trailer to beautiful house that you're living in. I just can't not mention the beautiful color of your hair. And you said
Oh,
it's an interesting story. So do you want to share
oh,
it?
yes, I do wanna tell you. Uh, probably, let's see, 2.5 years ago now, of course, I'm still doing Avon really big. I'm actually number 5 in the United States.
Wow,
But we
that's
just spent
amazing.
a year locked in the houses, and I have a teenage son. So, right, I was thinking to myself, I need some kickstart to my business here, and I wanted to up my game. So I'm thinking, I'd like to be networking with some people that are doing way better than me. And I just happened to be talking to Bob Berg on the phone about something else. I'm sure you recognize Bob Berg. He's the co-author for The Go Giver.
Hmm.
I've known him for about 25 years. So anyway, he was telling me about the Go Giver Success Alliance, and it's like a mentorship community. And I thought that's perfect. They're all doing better than me. They're all doctors, lawyers, engineers, and stuff. This would be perfect. So I said, sign me up. I'm in. But what I neglected to remember was the first Zoom call. I happened to have blue hair, And I'd never had any color but brown my whole life. I just had the blue because my kid had weird colors all the time growing up, and I'm just turning a milestone. I'm not telling you which one it is because I'm in denial. But anyway, I thought I'm
Good.
gonna one crazy thing, and I dyed my hair blue. But then I'm getting on this Zoom call with blue hair, and I'm the Avon lady. Now, if you know the backstory that I'm doing well with Avon, that's one thing. But if you don't, that's not very impressive. And then I look a little kooky with the blue hair. So I thought, oh, I'm going to tell a joke or something because I don't know what else to do. I'm looking kooky. I'm the Avon lady. So what I decided to say was, I said, if you want to have less judgment in your life, go ahead and dye your hair blue because this is working for me. You know what? I go down the grocery store and I see some lady in a tight skirt, and I'm thinking, man, that lady's got a tight skirt, said the lady with the blue hair. The guy on that call, the same call I was on, I didn't know him. His name's Jeff West. And he wrote in the comments on the Zoom call, that would make great title for a book.
Hmm.
Him and I did the book. That's the title.
Wow, that's
I know.
incredible. Wow, is it
Crazy.
published?
Yes.
But the lady with the blue hair. Oh my God,
My son did the artwork.
that's
We just won two big
amazing.
awards for it.
So
I
you
know.
manifested another thing. What is the book about?
It's actually called The 7 Rules for Success in Direct Sales, wrapped in a wonderful lesson for life. Jeff writes parables. So he writes business stories, and the story is based on me. I'm the
I
lady with the
love
blue hair,
that.
and the rules are based on what I've always taught on my team. For example,
Mhm.
one of the rules that I talk about all the time that we talked on my team call today was the success rule. You can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. And they're
Mm.
rules that could work for anything, but they just happen to be very good for direct sales business owners. But he and I, it's so funny because it was like we got hit by lightning, a comment in a Zoom call,
Mhm.
and decided to go with it.
It tells me like we always get these hints and these lightenings, as you say, from the universe, but we don't pay attention. So you picked it up, you paid attention, and you felt something inside. Your intuition probably told you something, give you a positive feeling, and you went for it.
Well, the other thing that happened is Jeff West and Bob Berg are good friends, and Bob had told me all kind of great things about Jeff West, how much of a legend he was. He actually ran the state of Texas for Aflac for 20 years, and does teaching and all that, and has another book and everything. And he was talking on these mentoring calls about he wanted to co-author books, parables with somebody. And I sat here in New Hampshire thinking to myself, I wonder what it would take to work with him. And then I thought, if he ever comes to me, I'm saying yes. So
Mm.
he didn't even get the words out. He did end up coming to me, and he didn't even get the words out. And I said, yes. I don't even know what you're thinking for a project, but yes. I don't think I would have had the opportunity to be in somebody's circle of a person of his caliber. I mean, I'm the Avon lady for Pete's sake. I do good, but I mean, I wouldn't have access to someone like him. And now he's like one of my best friends. We did this book. We're doing another book together. Being in that group has made a huge difference in my whole life. So
Mhm.
I think I'm glad that I stayed open. I'm glad I wanted to say yes to things. I'm glad
Mhm.
that, once somebody said that, we both just decided we wanted to, anytime there's like a possible collaboration, we're really trying to take it seriously. We're not just
Mhm.
dismissing it out of hand. And
Mhm.
I think the group's been like that, where we're looking for collaborations. We're thinking about things people say more seriously than just an idea, and then it just goes by. We're trying
Mhm.
to really listen when people have ideas like that.
Mhm. You shared so much gold in that collaboration, being open to ideas, saying yes to things, believing in yourself, being patient in transition, closing your eyes, feeling the feelings no matter what your situation and circumstance is. Thank you so, so much, Lisa. That was amazing. So where can people find your book?
It's actually on Amazon. We have the paperback, the Kindle, and there's kind of a funny story about the Audible too. He and I recorded the Audible, and it's really good, but no thanks to me. Mr. West is a very good coach. He'd done a lot of recordings, and he'd done other Audibles and stuff. I hadn't done that at all, and I didn't realize it wasn't just reading it. You have to like kind of act it a little bit. And he
Mhm.
put up with me. I actually had a giant meltdown like a 6-year old. So, yeah, don't think if you're trying something new and you have a meltdown, get a good coach. Find, links to all of the interviews we've done about the book. We do a
Mhm.
Thursday night show, all of that stuff on saidthelady.com, so you can find all of those things, and Jeff and I have this chemistry on when we do shows together, it's funny. He calls it like Burns and Allen. He calls me
Mhm.
Gracie.
That's interesting.
So
So where can people watch or listen to your shows?
it's actually on Facebook Live and also LinkedIn Live. So on mine, if you go on said the lady with the blue hair.com, you can find links to my YouTube channel that have all of the recordings. But we're
Mhm.
live on Thursday nights from 7 to 7:30 every week.
Okay, perfect. So if people go to the website, Said the Lady with the Blue Hair, they can find all the links over there.
Yes, yeah, you
Awesome.
can find all the links.
Awesome. Oh my God, I really enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm sure people can learn a ton. And I'm sure if I go back and watch it again, there's so much more. It was an inspiring story. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.